I have a very special guest for you to meet today, and I am so excited for you to meet her. Karen Cummings is a mom, a wife, a CEO and founder. She's a client, she's a friend, she's a business colleague, and we've really become just confidants in each other's lives. And I so appreciate our relationship and the many dimensions that it has. Karen started her first digital marketing agency a year after graduating from ASU and has since grown to employ a small team. And they are so amazing and bring possibilities to life for both small and large health and wellness clients. She's the CEO and founder of Radiant Marketing. And Karen is someone who so beautifully demonstrates living on mission to be a wife, a mom, a sister, a founder, a leader, and to be the best version of that she can be. Life is never free of challenges, but the way that we move through those challenges and show up to the different seasons of our lives can make all the difference. And Karen is navigating that very differently today. She's about to take you on that journey back to what life felt like before we worked together and how having tools for the journey can make a profound difference. She's in the midst of some very new, different, exciting adventures now, and she's going to tell you all about that too. Grab a cozy seat and allow Karen's journey to stir and inspire your own. I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently, a podcast where we explore the ins and outs of what becomes possible when we're willing to think, do, and show up differently to the moments of our everyday lives. Hey, Karen, welcome to Differently.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's I can't believe we haven't actually done this sooner, but I think the timing is perfect. And I'm really excited for you to share your journey, because when I think of you and our work together, gosh, we met a lot of years ago now. And when I think of your journey, and I think when people think of coaching, it's like, I don't know that they always think of it being something that's like ongoing in your life. And I think our journey together, like we work together and then we've not worked together. And I've been a client of yours and you've been a client of mine. And we've been business colleagues, but I also feel like we have built a really beautiful friendship, and we cover a lot of different areas, I think, in each other's lives. And I really appreciate that. And watching you, I feel like you've just embodied the work we've done together, like throughout your life and all the different domains of your life. And it's been really a joy for me to watch you go through that. So I'm excited to dive into that today.
Yes, just to echo those sentiments, I feel like, first of all, what you said about coaching kind of being an ongoing evergreen thing. It's not something that you're like, okay, I finished this and now I'm good to go. It's, every day is a new opportunity to reinforce the things that you're learning and practice what you're trying to accomplish in your life and in your business. But yes, to all of the other things too about our amazing, incredible relationship. And I'm probably just going to have this big, goofy smile on my face the whole time we're chatting today.
So good. So for people listening, give everyone a sense of kind of what stage of life you are in. What is that? Paint us a picture.
Yeah. So I feel like, is it at every stage of your life that you still feel like you're like a teenager in your 20s? Because I feel like I'm so young and I'm, so new to everything still. And then I kind of reflect on what I've accomplished over this last decade plus. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've actually grown so much and I've accomplished so much. And I'm in my 30s now and I'm getting old. No, but I feel like I'm at this really exciting place in my life where I have an incredible husband, two amazing, beautiful little, toddler and a 10-month-old, and a fairly mature business. And so I'm in a place where, I've created some financial stability with my business, and my husband and I decided to um, explore the world a bit more and take some adventures in our own personal life. So we've made some pivots and shifts this last year that have been very exciting for us too.
Yeah. So I want you to share more about that, but maybe we'll circle back in a little bit because I think that's so exciting what you're doing. And we'll circle back to that. So take us back to before you and I started working together. And you were so generous when we talked about doing the podcast and like really wanting to share your experience. And so take us back to before we were working together. Like, take us into your head and mind, and like, what were the things that really got in your way or you were struggling with that kind of showed up again and again?
Oh man, so many things, Carla. And all of it kind of ties back to those, old way of thinking that you talk about in our coaching, and, those fixed mindsets that we have around just who we are as people, how we should operate as entrepreneurs. And, so before we met, I was definitely a workaholic. um, I would probably say I was, a fairly negative person, although people that met me would never describe me that way. Um, and I was constantly overwhelmed and bitter and resentful of, what was being expected of me. There's so many things that, I think I had a very deep um, desire to avoid ever disappointing other people. So that was a big part of where, a lot of this came from, which again was a realization you helped me uncover in our coaching. Um, but yeah, generally, I would say on the outside, I looked successful and happy. And on the inside, I was not very happy.
Yeah, I love that you're so willing to be honest about that because I think that that's so true. And what I find when I'm for myself, like before I did this work in my life, very similar place where the outside looks good, like your life looks good on paper, and people probably have no idea. Like I know for myself, like I looked happy on the outside, and people thought everything was great, but inside there's like this inner angst, and
Mm-hmm.
we hide it well until we
Mm-hmm.
get to a point where it's like it's not working, it's not okay anymore. And I don't know about for you, but for me it was like I knew in my heart that there had to be a different way or a better way or a different approach. And so what was that moment for you where you like knew you wanted something to shift? Do you remember?
I think that it was just the realization that I was unhappy with how things were. And honestly, I think that realization deepened when you and I initially connected, and I learned a little bit more about like the mindset coaching and the mindset piece. And it's hard to kind of pinpoint now because it's been so many years. Um, but I think it was really just starting to understand that the way I'm perceiving things and the way I go into situations, whether it's with my, in my family and personal life or in my business, and how, the energy that I'm bringing to those situations is really going to dictate the outcomes of, both how I feel about everything, but also, the actual outcomes of things, whether that's a deliverable to clients or, an experience that I'm creating with my family. Um, yeah. So, I think it was really just the understanding that I have so much more control over how I feel and what I'm doing and how I'm making others feel and what I'm able to help them, produce and do by controlling what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And so talk for a minute about, you know, the impact of staying in that place, right? Because I know for me, like being in that place of inner angst and kind of going through the motions and checking the boxes of what I thought I was supposed to be doing in life, but it's not all
Mm,
adding up. There's like a cost and an impact, right? Of like staying there. What was that? Do
yeah,
you
yeah.
remember for you?
Yeah, well, and you bring up such a good point too, because I think for years, I've owned my business. I've had two agencies. The first agency I started in 2011. So I've been doing this for a decade. And I mean, I would say probably at least the first 5 to 6 years of that or more, I was in that space of believing, the rules around success. Success looks like this. It's high growth. It's, sell your agency. It's $1 million revenue. It was all these metrics that I was driving towards and felt the shoulds that you mentioned, that like ultimately I realized were not aligned with my values. Success looked so much different for me. And understanding that and realizing that, and again, kind of reflecting on, who I am as a person, what my values are, and what my mindset it is around these things, helped me to start to kind of chip away at that and uncover what what success for me looks like. And it doesn't look like growing my team to 100 people, hitting that $1 million revenue mark. It looks much different than that. And I think understanding and being okay with that has changed how I operate on a day-to-day basis, how I set goals for my team, for my business. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it sounds like, and I remember in watching you, like, redefine what success was, right? Like we're kind of given this idea of what success is, and then we go for it, and either it sort of matches or doesn't match. And I remember spots working with you where there was like that out of alignment. You're like, you're going for something, but there's something misaligned with what you actually want. And I think a lot of our work together was kind of lining those things up so that what you were thinking and what you're doing and what you're striving towards are all in congruency. And that alone can restore a lot of peace and harmony in your life, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, yes, for sure. And like you said, it's so important. I mean, because there's that whole busy aspect too, like you feel like as a recovering workaholic, like you feel like you always have to be busy, you always have to be checking things off your list. And while at the same time, your mind is thinking like, there's higher value things I could be doing, there's bigger, more important, more impactful things I could be doing, but you're not giving yourself the time and space to really kind of, pause and dive into what that is. And when you do, and you align those things, like you said, I mean, just incredible, incredible stuff happens. Like you get this chance to breathe in a whole new way.
Yeah. So I know our work together in the beginning was a lot about, and it is with everybody that I start with, is just kind of clearing a lot of the mental noise and kind of sorting through some of the old, outdated beliefs and ways of seeing yourself and the world around you and all of that. And I can see now, like you navigate life in a very different way. And it's not to say that it's without struggle, right? Like before we hit record, we were both just talking about the seasons we're in right now and what we're doing as we navigate it. And so this work isn't really done. It's a journey. And what my mission and passion is to equip people with tools and mindsets so that you can reapply them over and over and over again as you're navigating new hurdles and challenges in your life, because those don't go away. But how you show up to them is where you have control and influence always. So
yes,
you
well,
talked,
and
yeah,
yes,
go
like
ahead.
you said. Oh, sorry. Well, like you said, I like we were chatting before. I'm in a bit of like growth mode with my business right now, and the difference from what that growth mode might have looked like 3 years ago is that I'm managing that growth from a place of joy and ease. So yes, there are challenges that I'm facing, and I'm very busy, but I'm doing it with it in just such a different state of mind. And I think the things that you're saying, the tools that you've provided are all kind of just tie back to how you're approaching life's situations. And one of the biggest ones that you and I have chatted about that you've helped me with is just kind of trusting, just trust in general, trusting that the universe is looking out for us and that things are happening to support your growth and development in life. And that trust opens me up to have a much more curious mindset instead of an accusatory or a defensive or, any of those other types of negative of feelings. I'm approaching life and these situations that are being presented to me in a much more curious and playful way, which is just makes life so much lighter and easier to navigate and more fun to do. Even the difficult times or the the busy times, the growth times, the changing times. But those have been huge things that I think kind of the pre and post coaching has like big differences in how I operate my business and how I manage my life.
Yeah. So let's take people like into that. So what is that? What is that? Maybe, and maybe it's a particular example in your life, whether it's work or inside your marriage or parenting, but like where did where was there like a lack of trust? And then let's talk about how we kind of opened up your thinking so that you could see and kind of walk through that in a different way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a really good example is, from the business side of things as an entrepreneur with a small team. Because, with the lack of trust comes fear. And when there's changes in your business, like for example, losing a key employee who's either, I've had a variety of situations where they're leaving the state and they're going to be looking for a job in the state that they live in, or they've moved on to an incredible opportunity. That's scary, and I think before I made some of these changes, I would be so angry, so scared, so sad about, losing this important person in my life and my team, instead of how I handle it now, which is this is exciting. Like, first, I'm happy for you. I appreciate and am grateful for and truly care about the people on my team. And so to be able to come into these situations with those feelings of happiness for them and excitement for me, because what I've learned over the years is as great as that individual is, I can always find other great individuals. So again, it opens up the door to see what's next. They have this exciting new opportunity, and now I have an exciting new opportunity. How can I take advantage of this to really, either level up my business, my team, fill gaps that I might have had with that individual that I can now kind of explore with someone new. So that's a big place, and just one example of, instead of bumping up against those things and pushing back and getting angry and, feeling scared, I enter these situations with just an open, curious, and excited mindset.
Yeah. So when, like, as you're talking, I'm thinking about how, like, as humans, we can just get so attached to things being a certain way. And then when there's change, we take it personal. We make it mean something about us, or we've done something wrong, or that, like, we get fearful and we want to cling on tighter. And then we want to, like, control other things so that it doesn't happen again. And in entrepreneurship and being a CEO and a founder, like, that change in your, employees and in your business and in your clients, it's inevitable, right? Like, you've been doing it long enough now, like, like those changes are always occurring. And so, our goal was, how can we equip you to be able to kind of dance through those changes so that they're not so upsetting and disruptive and, wreak havoc for you. And I think that, helping you pull back, and instead of, it's not that we're trying to, have you not have feelings of sadness or disappointment, right? Because those are normal and natural feelings, but it's how long you stay there and what you do with them, which is what I've seen you shift, is like, let's stand back and just be curious. Like, I'm always curious when you tell me something's changing in your business. I'm like, ooh, let's pay attention. Like, let's see what's happening, because I have this belief that, like, something good is happening, maybe for you, for them, for the whole picture. And that perhaps sometimes there's an expiration date, and somebody leaving for maternity leave or going on to a new endeavor, like, they have something else they're supposed to go do. And there's something new and exciting that's happening in your business. And so I've seen you embody that, like, curiosity, and let's just look and see what's happening here, and really trust that there's something, like, a greater good that's playing out, even though it is uncomfortable. And I think you've
Yeah. And
seen
I
that so
appreciate,
many times.
yes. I mean, time and time again, whether it's employees or clients, and I think that, again, kind of, I mean, I believe that, what you put out into the universe, it comes back, and you can kind of manifest some of these situations. So again, if it's a client leaving, rather than staying in, and I appreciate your distinction there, like a chronic state of, these negative feelings, experiencing that, that more acute, I'm sad because this client's leaving or my employee's leaving, but
Yeah.
now let's move into, this other state of being and see what we can manifest, what we can create, and what's coming next for us. It's just such so much more of a joyful place to operate from.
Yes. So, okay. So I know you talked about a couple other places that I think were just really stood out for you and made a difference for you. What do you want to talk about next? I
So
can
I
I
think,
can help you too because you told me.
yeah, well, I think, some of the big things that, um, I'm experiencing now that I may never have taken a chance to do before is, my husband and I decided that he's taking a year off work for us to travel the country. So we purchased a travel trailer. He's planning our routes, and I'm trusting that this is what we should be doing in our lives right now. So, like you said, there's change and it's scary, and there's lots and lots of unknowns. Um, but I think it's an incredible opportunity for me to grow in different ways too, and kind of let go of control of certain things. And it's been a very interesting experience, and we're already having a lot of fun. And I don't think that this ever would have happened, first of all, if I hadn't been able to make the changes we talked about and grow my business in this incredible way, to afford to do this, but also just, again, like the mindset around like taking these types of chances and leaps, and really moving into these new adventures.
Well, and I love that too because so often we like wait to live our lives, right? And we put off our happiness until someday we're going to like take those trips and we're going to do those adventures and those things. And someday when your business isn't so busy or so full, or the kids are older, and what I love about what you guys are doing is you're creating it now. And I think like in our world and in our culture and with everything that's happening, our lives are becoming more and more blended. Um, more so than ever before. And so, what I see you doing is like really creating your life, innovating in the everyday, and like figuring it out. Like, how can you be team with your husband as you navigate some of these hard things? Where can you let go of control, right? Because you have a full plate, you're running a business, you have a team, have a full load of clients right now. And how do you guys work together? Where do you give? Where do you pull back? Where do you let go so that you both and you all can thrive more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I think some of this too just speaks to the alignment element that you talked about before, that I think you've helped me really recognize is, trusting my gut, trusting my instinct on things. And when it came to, my relationship with Travis and what was going on within our family, I felt like something was missing, like something was off. And ultimately that decision prompted us to or that feeling, prompted us to make the decision that we weren't spending enough quality time together. Travis owned his own business. He was working very long, split schedules. Our kids were in daycare. I was running my business, and the time that we had together was so rushed and errand focused. And I think we like really realized as we leaned into that feeling of like, why does there feel like there's all this friction? Like, what is missing here? Is when we were like, you know what? It's like we just need to be together more. We need to create more experiences together and have deep, meaningful, quality time. And so that's really what prompted us to make that decision. And it was kind of crazy because we were like, what would it look like if we bought a travel trailer and just started, traveling around, and you quit your job? And I think it was a matter of, I want to say only like 3 months that, Travis sold his truck, got a truck to pull the trailer. We bought the trailer. He quit his job. We took the kids out of daycare, and we are now like well into this, a couple months into this new adventure. And it is, yeah. So it's super exciting.
Uh, I just, I just adore that you guys are doing that. Well, and it's, you know, going back to like trusting your gut and trusting your instinct, I can remember lots of times, like in our conversations, and what I find when I'm coaching people is that there's so much more clarity inside than we usually realize that we have. And there's just a lot of stuff in the way from either acting on that clarity or trusting that clarity. And I know many a times, like we would get on a conversation and you would feel like you're confused or you're overwhelmed or don't know what to do. And like halfway into the conversation, we'll realize like you actually are really, really clear. And for people listening, like I believe this more and more and more that like God has given us abilities that we don't even know that we have, but that you have a sense of knowing things before they actually happen. And when you start to like really trust that, like a lot of times you would get on the call and just say like, you feel some friction in this area or inside your business. And we would, in our minds, we try to like deal with it or like drudge our way through it or suffer through it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's just a different approach. And when you start to lean into trusting your instincts and then getting more information about that or, giving it a little bit more time, or sometimes it was making a choice sooner, acting sooner than and faster versus waiting and stewing in something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, honestly, Carla, I think that's a testament to the work that you do with your clients too, because it takes, those calls sometimes for me, I'll still send you an emergency email saying, hey, I need to schedule a session because I'm dealing with, this particular situation. And it's just incredible to me how, like you said, I can come into these calls sometimes with just such a flurry of thoughts and a swirling mind of all the things that are going on. And by the end of that call, I just feel like I have so much clarity. And to your point, I think some of it is definitely coming from within me, and those answers might already live, in my mind or my heart. But you're able to, help me identify them and extract them and put them into words and create, the next step actions for me, which has just been so, so helpful in my life and my business. So I just, I feel so grateful for you and the work that we've done together too, because I don't think I would have been able to accomplish nearly as many things as I have over these last few years without having an ongoing coaching relationship with you.
It's been so rich for me. It's an honor to work with you and get on a call with you. And because you're so willing to kind of dig in and explore and continue to apply it in your life. And that's what it takes. That's really, really what it takes. So one last thing that we have kind of touched on is just this idea of like creativity over reactivity. And I think that's what you're doing in your life now is like you're in the midst of a lot of things. And I think as humans, we have a choice. Like for me, many, many years of my life, I felt like I was at the mercy of my circumstances and just kind of like blowing in the wind of whatever's happening around me. And I think you set such a beautiful example of really leaning into the creativity instead of like at the mercy of just reacting to what life is happening. And so share with us a little bit. You have shared a little bit about what you're doing now, but what are you most excited about next? And yeah, what does that look like now in your life?
Yeah, well, I feel like, there's, the personal side with the adventures that we are planning on taking. I'm super excited for that. And I'm also excited for Travis to be owning that whole piece of our lives right now, and to basically kind of just be along for the ride with him. And he's like, hey, I booked, Sequoia, we're going to Big Sur, we're going to San Diego. And it's so so exciting because, adventure and outdoor time and just being in nature is a big thing for all of us. And, even down to Summer, who's only 10 months old, as soon as we step outside, if she's being fussy, she is more at peace. So I'm excited to be taking those trips, creating those adventures before our kids are in school. And I feel very blessed to be doing that because I know that's not something everyone gets to do. And then, I'm just literally always excited about my business and the opportunities that my business provides to my team. I'm excited for our team and their growth and where they're going. And, the clients that we're working with now, we just have so much fun stuff going on. And the work we do feels so impactful. I love that we're focused in health and wellness because the clients that we're working with make such a big, important difference in people's lives. And that just makes our work feel, so much more meaningful too. So I feel like I'm just excited about everything.
So good. And where are like you growing? Where do you feel like you're growing next? Because we're always growing,
I
right?
honestly, I am. I do feel like every day is like a learning opportunity for me. And I really feel like that's probably mostly being a mom. I think that every day I'm given a chance to grow as, a teacher, as a patient person. I think patience has always been, lower on my strengths list for sure. And my kids give me a chance every day to become a better version of myself. And so I'm constantly, growing as a mom um, learning and growing as a leader too. I think that you're always, if you're leading a team, it's so important to be able to reflect on how you're interacting with your team and the resources you're providing and the support you're giving and making sure you have open lines of communication to improve what you're doing as well. And so I feel like I'm constantly learning and growing as a leader and as a wife. I think there's areas that you and I have chatted about with, in my relationship too. I'm constantly growing as, and learning how to be the best partner I can be for my husband.
I love that. It's so inspiring to watch you move through life. I love our conversations. I want people listening, you have to check out Karen's business and what she's doing and Radiant Marketing and her team and all the incredible work that you're doing. So where can people find out more about you and what you're up to and your adventures?
Yeah, so they can they can follow me on Instagram, KCummingsAZ. They can also, find all of our business information, all of Radiant's information at radiantmarketingaz.com. So they can check out the website. If they are in the health and wellness space and are looking for an agency, we do a complimentary discovery call where I can definitely connect and, get some guidance if it makes sense for us to work together or if it makes sense for them to take some steps on their own first. But yeah, so they can tune into our Instagram for our adventures and Radiance information for marketing, tips and strategies. But I feel so fortunate to be able to have this conversation with you, Carla, to have been introduced to you and have you in my life. And I appreciate you having me on your podcast.
I'm so glad you came on. I look forward to watching your adventures, and I know we'll be in each other's lives. And I would love to have you come back, and it would be fun just to talk about just the adventure part of it and this, what I call lifepreneurship, which is just blending work and life in a way that matters. And you're doing that. And so it would be fun to just talk about that. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carla. You too.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Differently. I hope it stirred your thinking, and I invite you to take one inspired action from something that stood out to you. If you love listening to this podcast, may I ask you to leave a review in Apple Podcasts. These mean so much to me, and I read every one. They are a great source of fuel for me as I am creating these episodes. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app and help me spread the word. If this episode could impact someone you know, please share it and pass it along. Remember, new episodes drop weekly. See you next week.